Hi everyone, welcome back to my vlog series, and this is episode number 3, and today is going to be an information overload because I'm going to tell you all about my diet. What did I eat to go from here to here? Okay, so for those of you who've seen my posts of my before and after images on social media, you know a little bit about it, starting from my lab tests to my supplements to what exactly I replaced with what, and even until today what I eat and things like that. So let's begin. She actually happens to be also my student, and one day we found out that she is a health coach and a nutritionist, and I was looking for someone who can help me start my transformation, and it just clicked. It's like I was waiting for someone like her to come into my life for a very long time. So I got started with her immediately. And we first began with getting my lab tests. Okay, so that was basically to find out what are my deficiencies, what condition my body is in, what is the damage that I've done all this while, what are my allergies until now, and what are my energy levels and things like that. So it turns out I have gluten sensitivity. So when I had to go gluten free, it's challenging because in India, a lot of the food that you eat on a daily basis does contain gluten. So obviously no maida, there's no question of eating maida. No whole wheat either, because that does have gluten, and no semolina, which is rava or suji. No vermicelli, no processed food like biscuits and chips because they may contain gluten, or anything that comes out of a packet because you don't know what it has. Then it also turns out that my cortisol levels were super low, which tells you about your energy levels. Okay, so I used to have energy crashes, not just because of these deficiencies, but also because my baby was just about 10 or 11 months old, and there's obviously so many things as a new mother that you need to do. You don't have enough sleep because you're gonna feed your baby, or you're going to be up all night and taking care and having to do a lot of other things. So stress is pretty obvious, so cortisol levels had to be haywire. Vitamin D3, the urban pandemic, that's something very, very common these days. Everybody's popping a pill for vitamin D3 nowadays. So obviously I had to also have it. And B12, again, that was another deficiency. And so vitamins like zinc and iron and calcium, and those levels were a little here and there too. So I was given this diet, which is not vegan, not Ayurvedic or Sattvic or any of these trending diets, because I told her I want to eat what my body wants, what my body needs. So based on that, she initially straight away put me on a gut healing, anti-inflammatory, low carb, high protein and fiber diet. Okay. And I don't even want to call it a diet anymore, because this is something that I want to keep to doing for the rest of my life. And I did tell I did tell Pratima that I want this to be a lifestyle change. And in fact, this is something that people usually think of doing for like 3 months or 4 months and then they want to go back. But I told her that I don't want to go back. I want to maintain this because I've done back and forth enough. Okay. So, and she said yes, because if you're not going to do this for the rest of your life, and if you want to keep going back to the way it used to be, there's no point doing this, because it has to be a lifestyle change. And so this is something that I had to embrace as my new lifestyle. Okay, so I was up for it. I went ahead and brought all the groceries according to my meal plan, and I was ready to start working on all my deficiencies and stabilize my energy levels and really start to see what changes go through in my body. And then, of course, my meals, which I would actually start with my breakfast, always high in protein, like sprouted moong, quinoa upma with eggs, 2 eggs, almost every day. And of course, like I mentioned, my nutritional yeast would go in that, my sauerkraut would go in that, my seeds would go in that, my maca root powder would go in that. And then if I'm having a coconut yogurt, then my chia seeds and my berries would be in that. So I was doing blueberries and cranberries. Then with my lunch, it would generally be a big portion of vegetables because I had to double my vegetable quantity, and a very small portion of, let's say, whatever chapati. And my chapati was basically, obviously, there's no question of the regular gluten chapati, but I was using coconut flour and psyllium husk for making my chapatis. Or sometimes there would be like a chila with the banana, raw banana flour or oat flour or almond flour, or and sometimes also chapati made from amaranth flour, which is rajgira. So yeah, I had to switch to all these unconventional methods, and it was really interesting for me because I never knew about these things until I had to switch to this diet, and I was having so much fun learning all these new recipes. So that would be mostly my lunch with some buttermilk, or if I'm not having paneer or some protein element, then I would add a protein shake along with it, which is either hemp protein or pea protein. Both are plant-based, and just mix it in water. There you go. Then I would also, for dinner, eat like a big bowl of soup with all the vegetables. Like I would have a beetroot soup one day, or a spinach soup, or carrot soup, or carrot and pea soup, or pumpkin soup, and mix it with coconut milk sometimes, some of them, and with some protein, of course, like paneer, or if I'm having some veggies, then that. Or some days if I want to have like a coconut flour base vegetable pizza, then I would make that. And yeah, and I had a lot of options for my desserts also, because my sugars were now replaced with either erythritol or stevia. I wasn't taking the regular sugar. So on this diet, I had to obviously be on a very low carb diet. So that automatically excludes stuff like honey, dates, jaggery, any processed food, and any of these fruits which have sugars in large quantity. So I was allowed very minimum fruits, which is kiwi, papaya, strawberry, blueberry, and yeah, okay, and no apples and bananas and none of these other things, because they're very, very high in sugar. And of course, I can take them very occasionally, but not on a regular basis, because I had to also rectify my insulin sensitivity, which is a whole new chapter. Something absolutely new I came across in the process of learning. So that has to be controlled. The sugar intake had to be controlled, and I had to switch from eating regular sugar or any of these things with stevia or erythritol, because these things do not have any impact on blood sugar levels. Their glycemic index is absolutely nil, zero. So I was doing like carrot halwa, or almond flour halwa, or almond flour and coconut flour pancakes. And there was no rice, of course. I switched to red rice or brown rice, or even black rice for that matter these days. But that was also quite limited. I wouldn't take it as often as we usually do. Then I was completely off starch, like potatoes, no corn, because these were very starchy and high in carbs and things like that. So can you imagine no potatoes? Because potatoes are like the most versatile vegetable in the Indian cuisine, right? Or maybe any cuisine across the world. So no potatoes. I used to initially track how much protein is going in, how much carbs are going in, and how much of fat is going in, just to get a hang of, the quantities initially. But after a while, I got used to it and I didn't have to do the tracking. But what I was actually tracking is how all this food is working inside of me. Okay, so the main idea was to eliminate any food that has a tendency to trigger an issue in your gut. Okay, because the first thing that we wanted to tackle is to strengthen the gut. Okay, because it's obviously gone through so much of damage, and if the gut is not healing, then literally any part of your body can't heal at all. So to be able to heal the gut, we were doing this kind of a diet and stabilize all the levels and normalize all the deficiencies and things like that. And then little by little, maybe once in a while, start to introduce back into your diet some of the things which you used to eat. Okay, so I realized in this process that I'm intolerant to gram flour, which is besan. Okay, the moment it goes into my body, there's this huge session of fireworks in my belly, so it causes a lot of bloating. Same with broccoli, which I was so shocked to get to know about. And then I also found out about foods that are very high in sugar or processed food, because that's very common these days. There's so much of processed food ingredients that it just wreaks havoc on your gut. So anything of that sort obviously created a lot of constipation and bloating and things like that. So that was out of the question. Gluten, of course, was the first culprit. I mean, I did not understand what gluten did to my body until I stopped eating it and I reintroduced it in my diet. Okay, because I was obviously eating gluten every day until this diet happened. And when I stopped eating gluten and one day I introduced it back just to see how I felt, oh my God, that I decided that I do not want to take gluten for the rest of my life. And I was so happy with the way my gut was feeling. I would feel so light, my motion, my bowels were very smooth, and I didn't have any bloating, constipation, gas, or any issues. And I had at one point maintained a Google sheet noting every meal that I've eaten, what time I've pooped, how much water I've consumed, how much workout I've done on that day. Was I really physically active? Was I less active? And then compared it to my energy levels from other days. So yeah, it was a huge effort that I had put in maintaining and tracking and taking care of myself and sticking to this diet, because it can go wrong very easily sometimes. You can give up very easily. You can say that, okay, I'm done with this and let me just go back to the way it used to be. But I knew that there was no going back. So this is how it's going to be. So there goes. That is pretty much the stuff that I eat. I will keep posting recipes of things I eat these days, what I eat for breakfast, lunch and dinner. I will keep posting it in maybe short videos or short snippets here and there, so stay tuned for those. But this is largely what I consumed. Okay, please do not try it out yourself. Make sure you go through a proper nutritionist. All right, thank you guys, and I will see you soon in my next episode.